me free. Unchain my heart,
unchain my heart,
baby, let me go.
Unchain my heart,
unchain my heart,
unchain my heart,
'cause you don't love me no more.
Unchain my heart.
Every time I call you on the phone, some fella tells me that you're not at home. So unchain my heart, oh please set me free. I'm under your spell,
I'm under your spell,
like a man in a trance,
like a man in a trance.
but I know darn well,
But I know darn well
that I don't stand a chance.
that I don't stand a chance.
So unchain my heart,
Unchain my heart,
let me go my way.
unchain my heart,
Unchain my heart,
unchain my heart.
you worry me night and day.
Unchain my heart.
Why lead me through a life of misery when you don't care about a beat for me? So unchain my heart, oh please, please set me free. I'm under your spell,
I'm under your spell,
like a man in a trance.
like a man in a trance.
Oh, you know darn
But I
well
know darn well
that I don't stand a chance.
that I don't stand a chance.
So unchain my heart,
Unchain my heart,
let me go my way.
unchain my heart,
Unchain my heart,
unchain my
you
heart,
bury me night and day.
unchain my heart.
Why lead me through a life of misery when you don't care about a beat for me? So unchain my heart, please, please set me free.
Please set me free.
Oh, won't you set me free?
Please set me free.
Oh, set me free.
Please set me free.
Wow, set me free.
Girl, the way you do me all night long, my love around, you make it all come down. You give me that tasty love, oh yeah.
is 1370 WLTH AM Gary, Indiana.
I bet that got your attention. Stay tuned into one of the livest shows today. Your boy Freddie Flo sitting in. Do I got your attention? Let me kick my intro, please.
Hardcore from the brain. Go inside my astral plane. Find out my mental based on instrumental records. Hey, so I can write monumental methods. I'm not the king, but this is decaf. I stick 'em for the cream. Check it, just how deep can get. Deep as the abyss. And brothers is mad fish accepted. In your cross color, clothes you crossed over. Think I totally crossed out and crisscrossed. Who the boss? Get tossed to the side. And on the dark side of the force. Of course it's the method. Man from the Wu-Tang clan. I be hectic and coming for the headpiece. Protect it. 2 tears in a bucket. You want the ruckus? Bustin' at me, bro. Now bust it. Styles like it's buck wow. Method man on pulling valves. I'm sick, insane, crazy. Driving Miss Daisy. Out of my mind, now I got mine, I'm swayed.
All right, y'all, it's your boy Freddie Flo, man. We're going to talk about a whole lot of subjects today, but when we get deep into this thing, let me do this first and foremost. What we got to do is do this disclaimer. The views expressed by the host and callers of this show, not necessarily the views of WLTH, its management, owners, or sponsors. Do you understand that? First of all, if you don't, give me a call and I explain it to you. 885-1371. All right, before we kick this thing off, we're going to journey a little small trip here. We're going to take a trip into black radio. A lot of people that listen to radio, you probably just say, oh, it's abstract. It's just entertainment. When I say black radio, it's much more than that. To give you what I'm talking about, black ownership in radio in America, black owners, we make up 1% out of 10,000 radio stations. So this radio station right here don't supposed to be here in Gary, technically speaking. For example, black ownership. How many black radio stations do you think there are in Chicago, in New York? There's only one in Chicago, and that's an AM. New York City doesn't have a black-owned radio station. And when I say black-owned, I'm not talking about plantation radio stations. I'm not talking about they have a white owner playing black programming, and they hire a bunch of black people to operate the station. But they have the final say on what's being heard and what's being broadcast. So a lot of information, if you listen to other radio stations, they're not going to really, tell you the truth about a lot of things. Most of them are on a liberal side. You would be surprised. For example, Clear Channel, for example, iHeart, is totally owned by a conservative organization, Clear Channel. So they fund shows like Rush Limbaugh, I remember Imus in the morning. You remember that when he got caught calling the sisters nappy head blankety blanks, those stations like that. So, but what happens is hip hop is the #1 music in the country, but black folks don't make no money off that in radio. I hate to say it, Crawford Communications. Well, there you go. It's Chicago. When you talk about GCI, VON, I think, did I get that right? I just do it. 1027, V102. All those are owned by Clear Channel. They dominate the market. So when you hear somebody say, oh, I have a black radio station, we're not talking about those that have, I call them plantation radio, that have black folks all over the radio, but they're on kind of like football teams, right? You know, they have 70% of the players are black, making all the money, but they don't make no decisions on the format and the music that's put out there. Enough said with that. I give you, hold on, I'm going to give you a stat real quick on black radio before I get into it. Then you'll understand why when I get into my discussion, you'll understand. In 1995, there was 146 black-owned radio stations. Today, that's back in back in 2005. No, okay, I got it right. That was back in 1995. There was 146 black-owned radio stations. As of June 9th, 2015, there are only 68 out of 10,000. Understand what I'm saying? Out of 10,000 radio stations that you turn on and you listen to all your stuff, only 68 then were black owned. That was 2015. 2 years. There's 47 black owned radio stations. Now, what is the importance of owning your own black radio station? Or having someone in your community that your community is 95% black owning a radio station? There's many communities that are all black, that all their music and entertainment come from people that have other ulterior motives in pushing the information. See what I'm saying? So before you hear something on this radio station today that you don't like, that you don't agree with, remember, it's black owned and it has a voice, and some of the stuff might cause you to think a little bit about what what you're hearing on the radio, because you can't get it nowhere else. Please believe what I'm telling you. You will not get it anywhere else. Man, I mean, look at the Republican Party. Look at conservative. They are stacking the deck. They're really stacking the deck. And all your information, the very best information you get, and I don't want to sound like a racist, but it's the truth. All the information that black folks get comes through white-owned media. And you believe it. You believe most of it. Some of the stories are tailored to control you in a certain way or to outrage you in a certain way. What I mean by that, a DJ at a nightclub, he can play certain music, he can look at the crowd and say, oh, this crowd is a little bit rowdy. Let me play something that can slow it down. Let me throw on a slow record so these guys can dance with these ladies and quit thinking about fighting or something like that, or vice versa today. The same way you are controlled with information. Information is key to our survival. We like to talk about we own this and we can do this, we can do that. How many black folk right now that you taught your child how to survive in a world if food is cut off? Nobody know. We haven't taught the skills of our great-great-grandfathers. We just threw them away. The value of ownership of property, farming, all this other mess don't matter. When you think about it, food, water, well, it should be water, food, and shelter. The way our president's going, that's going to be the most important thing to people. You might be saying, oh, he's an alarmist. Well, pretty much, because we don't manufacture nothing. All black folks in this country do is consume. And the minute somebody say, hey, we need to learn how to farm, we need to learn how to can food, we ignore our elders. They're not going to be here long. People don't know how to conserve till tomorrow. It's buy. All right, what I'm going to do here in a second, I'm going to get into the root of my discussion. I'm opening the phone lines shortly on this conversation. The lines is 219-885-1371. That's 885-1371. No, I'm just going to jump right into it. Now, this is something that I think that's been lacking for us as black men. And we don't hear nobody talk about, all we hear about is being physically responsible. You know, physically responsible. Black men, this is where we don't have a lot of money and we don't have a lot of power in this society. Actually, women, black women, is a step higher than us in the hierarchy of things in imperial, or I should say capitalistic world we live in right now, or the United States. And so black men, in order to protect yourself, we never told our young men or expressed the responsibility by not making a young woman pregnant. We don't talk about it. I have a situation that's personal with me right now. Should I be happy because one of my young daughters, she's an adult, but should I be happy because and celebrate the fact that she's pregnant? No, because it was. I'm not gonna say, "Oh, I'm happy for you." No. You have to be held responsible for the reckless decision for getting pregnant with no means of knowing how you're gonna take care of it. Now, you've heard all this before, but let me break it down a little bit farther for the men. Young man out there or men that's listening to the radio, we never told our sons this. If you get I'm going to specifically say black woman pregnant because that's how a lot of the system was designed. If you get a black woman pregnant today, and she can't afford to have the baby, but she has the baby, there are safeguards for her and the child. You know, there's who's, you know, you ask the question, who is going to pay the bill at the hospital? Now, this is where the state steps in and pay for it. Now, mind you, when this young lady you have pregnant, you have no control for 9 months, basically. Your life is in limbo, young man. You don't have no say. You can't tell her to abort it if you believe in such a thing, or if not, that's a whole different subject and a whole different topic on the radio. But you can't tell her to do any of those things. So what you have to do is wait. And once the child is born, and you there in the hospital, you all happy because you got a child. That's the beginning of 18 years of slavery. And what I mean by that, and I know a lot of black women, I'm going to let y'all call in and tear me up with it, whatever, but it got to be said, this is for black men. We have to stop making young women pregnant if we can't physically. I'm a victim of it, of my own indiscretions and enjoying myself and getting involved in the system, because this is how it works. If you don't have, if a woman don't have money to raise the child, the government steps in and give her safeguards. If a young black man don't have money to take care of the child, there's no recourse that happens for you but jail, and you lose privileges like driver's license, business license, all types of things that you're not thinking about when you're out here doing unprotected, idiotic stuff. So what happens is you lose your freedom, so to speak. Because most men, and I'm ventured to say 70% of all men that are on child support is normally on child support by the state. The state turns into the prosecutor, and you think you paying child support if she receives food stamps or she receives any type of government assistance, the whole state bears down on you. I remember when I was growing up, they didn't have a department of the friend of court. Matter of fact, you cannot even call the court and set up a date without going to court, spending money on a motion to fight something that the mother can just go up there and say, hey, I want to talk to her enforcement agent and amend the order on you. That's the system. We can't change it. But what we can do, young men, is not get engaged in situations that destroys your life. Even if she says it's okay, they're not held to the responsibility as you are. You're the one that's going to go to jail, not her. She has safeguards. She can be so physically irresponsible with having a child, but you can't be physically irresponsible. Because if you don't pay on time when they want you to pay, not the mother, when the state wants you to pay, you look at jail. I can never understand that. Even if you do have a little job at Burger King or what have you, and you're being a responsible father, if you don't make a certain amount, and they know this, they take half of your cash, take half of your check. Now, but that's the responsibility. And nobody's really out there pushing, if you make this young girl pregnant or if you get a baby and you're not financially stable, you're going to jail. I know it sounds crazy and it's kind of, off the deep end, but none of us older guys really express that to these young guys when you see them out there engaging in unhealthy sexual activity unprotected. Nobody talks about that. So, I open up the lines. I was just curious if, and I know a lot of men just don't, you don't want to even really talk about this, but we need to discuss it or we're going to keep doing the same thing over and over and over again as a collective. The number is 885-1371. I'm going to take a small break here. And I'll be right back.
Walking down the street, watching ladies go by, watching you. Walking down the street, watching ladies go by, watching you. Watching you. Watching you. Watching you. Watching you. Looking at the ladies, all of them fine, all of them so lovely. I can't make up my mind, but I'm looking at you from the corner of my eye. I can see you now, you're stepping so high and walking down the street, watching ladies go by, watching you. One look down, I was hooked on you, baby. Walking down the street, watching ladies go by, watching you.
chestnuts roasting on an open fire.
This is State Representative Dr. Vernon G. Smith wishing you a very blessed and Merry Christmas. Some friends of mine, Joyce, Dwight, Robin, and I, will sponsor our annual Spirit of Christmas dinner on Christmas Day. It'll be held at the Genesis Convention Center at 4th of Broadway right here in Gary, Indiana, from 1 to 4 p.m. We will provide a full Christmas dinner, and it's all free. And there will be gifts for everyone, pictures with Santa Claus, and all of the holiday festivities. We invite you to join us. For reservations, please call 887-2046. The reservation is not mandatory, but it will help us prepare better to serve you. There's also free transportation. So give us a call at 887-2046 and join us in the 27th Annual Spirit of Christmas Dinner.
Although it's been said many times, many ways, Merry Christmas.
This is retired Colonel Richard Liggett. My wife, Ava, and I have enjoyed the privilege of working with and serving you and the community during 2017. It has truly been a labor of love for Ava and I. Recognizing the difficulties we face daily, we pause to take a moment to send you a wish of joy, peace, and goodwill for the holiday season, along with wishes for good health, prosperity for the upcoming year. Please be safe as you celebrate the holiday season.
Hi, my name is Tyrell Anderson.
I'm Lori Gonzalez.
And I'm Andrea Ledbetter.
And we here at the Decay Devils would like to wish everyone a Merry Christmas.
No, wait. Why can't we say Happy Holidays instead?
No, I prefer Happy Kwanzaa.
Really?
Yes.
Oh.
Okay. What about Happy Whatever Doesn't Offend You?
I like it.
Oh, whatever.
Okay. We here at the Decay Devils would like to wish everyone a Happy Whatever Doesn't Offend You.
Dance and Apparel Studios in Constance Wesley Clinton would like to wish all citizens in Northwest Indiana a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. Contact Connie for some holiday gifts at 219-545-6198 or the website kdancestudio.com.
Need a tow? Call Benny's Towing Service at 219-944-1404. Day or night?
Rain, shine, sleet or snow. Call Benny's if you need a tow.
Also, if you have a business, housing complex, or any other private property and you need no parking signs, call Benny's Towing and they will provide no parking signs free of charge. Call Kay at 219-944-1404.
Rain, shine, sleet or snow. Call Benny's if you need a tow.
Benny's Towing is located at 2160 West 10th Avenue in Gary, Indiana. If you need a tow, call Benny's Towing Service at 219-944-1404. Day or night, 24/7.
Rain, shine, sleet or snow. Call Benny's if you need a tow.
Keep up to date with news throughout the day. Visit us on our Facebook page at WLTH 1370 AM and on our website at WLTH1370.net.
Greetings, this is Pastor Rodney C. Griffin Jr. coming to you from the Greater Grace Church, located 269 West 57th Avenue in Maryville, Indiana, wishing you and your family a blessed holiday season, remembering that Jesus is the reason for the season. Remember that the greatest gift was not put under a tree, but the greatest gift hung on a tree and died for you and me. If you are ever in the area or even without a church home, please feel free to come and worship at the Place of Grace, a church of prayer, praise, and proclamation, located 269 West 57th Avenue, Maryville, Indiana.
I came to bring the pain, hardcore from the brain. Let's go inside my astral plane, find out my mental, based on instrumental records. Hey, so I can write monumental methods. I'm not the king, but this is decaf. I stick 'em for the cream. Check it, just how deep can get deep as the abyss. And brothers is mad fish accepted. In your cross color, clothes you crossed over. Think I totally crossed out and crisscrossed. Who the boss? You tossed to the side, and I'm the dark side of the force. Of course it's the method. Man from the Wu-Tang Clan, I be hectic and coming for the headpiece, protect it. 2 tears in a bucket. You want the ruckus? Bustin' at me, bro. Now bust it. Styles like it's buck wow. Method man on pulling it.
All right, y'all, we're back. It's Freddie Flow Show live, Saturday edition. It's going down. We're talking about a lot of stuff today. I'm finishing up that segment on, we got to get our young men being responsible and conscious about the decisions they make when it comes to bringing children in this world. Lord knows I'm not a spokesman for the greatest father in the world, but I can certainly speak to young folks not to repeat the same things that I did. All right. Now I'm going into my next segment. I've been kind of like traveling around the country doing different things, mostly around the Deep South and touring around, different states up north here. And every black community, and I'm going to pose this question, and it's not here to beat up anybody spiritual, but why is it? And I don't hear people ask this question, I guess because they're afraid of the backlash. I don't care. You can call here and say whatever you want. You can say it. I'm not going to cut you off. I don't care. I'm thick-skinned. I think I done heard it all before. But why in a community like Gary? And I'm speaking to Gary because I'm here. I can say Benton Harbor, Michigan. I can say Canton, Mississippi. I can say Jackson, Mississippi. I can say Mobile, Alabama. I can say New Orleans. Why is it that in the black community, churches outnumber? I can't say, I don't have anything I can compare with that. For example, the Gary area, that's over 400 churches here. And then you look at the state of our community and say, what are they doing? Now, I don't want people calling, talking about my church do this and my church and my pastor. I'm not worshiping a pastor, or I'm not praising a certain church because they're doing what they're supposed to do. So I'm not going to clap my hands and say I'm happy because you're doing what you're supposed to do. Your specific church is doing what it's supposed to do in the community. So please don't call saying, well, my pastor or my church is doing this, because the first, word come out your mouth is my pastor. So I'm not looking at that aspect. I'm looking at the aspect of the resources, 10% in love offerings that go inside the churches in retrospect to the community. Can somebody address that for me? Why is there such a disparity? Because there's income going into the church, but I don't see nothing directly improving, let me word this carefully, for the masses of people in the community. I see storefront churches. I see some churches that just, why is that there? Do anybody question that, or is it just me, or somebody saying, "Oh, that's just the devil talking right there"? Because I'm thinking with my grandma, "Oh, you being a devil, you just." But look at the community. We've been doing the same thing over and over from generation to generation, and we are getting the same result as far as communities. Nothing. We have faith-based grants, faith-based initiatives. How is that benefiting our community as a whole? Can anybody answer that question for me? I'd be glad. We can open up the lines. We can talk about it. But like I said, I'm going to say stuff and see. I see things, and most people are not going to say it. Most people are not going to get on here and say, the things that I'm going to say. I don't care. I got to be straightforward with it, because it's time to be straight up, and we have to find something that works for the masses of our people, or we destined to continue. Here it is. Year 2017. We still own less than 1% of the wealth. Well, 1%, 1/10 of 1% of the wealth in this country. Do you know the beginning of slavery? At the end of slavery, we had 1%, let me word this correctly, 1/10 of 1% of the wealth in the country. It's been over 150 years. We still haven't progressed as far as wealth. We still own 1/10 of 1% of the wealth in this country. We don't talk about that. Do anybody see that? Is that a problem to anybody? I mean, look at the community. We're not doing anything. We're sitting, and here's the problem. We have money. As a black collective in this country, we spend $1.1 trillion. Matter of fact, I see every black person buying gifts. Not every, I see everybody. We have money, but we're not spending the money or spending it collective where we're supposed to spend it. I don't know. I wonder if anybody else see the same thing I see. Who do we hold responsible in our communities? Who takes the most money in our community? Who are the leaders in our communities? Now remember, I'm not just saying Gary, Indiana. I'm not picking on Gary. I can easily say the same thing in Benton Harbor, Michigan. I can easily say the same thing with Flint, Kalamazoo. Down south, I can easily say the same thing about Baton Rouge, Mobile, a little town called Lexington, Mississippi, Canton, Mississippi. Well, in fact, in Mississippi, there are more, in that state, there are more black officials holding office seats than any other state in the country. But yet, we are still struggling for our foot in financing. I don't know. I'm just lost for words on many things that happen to us as a people. Now, is there gatekeepers in the black community? Sure it is. Let's be honest. There are people in our communities that are making a lot of money psychologically to keep us where we are. There's always gatekeepers. Okay, what do I mean by gatekeepers? Ray Lewis would be a gatekeeper. If you understand what's going on in the NFL. Ray Lewis would be one of those gatekeepers. I would venture to say Michael Jordan is one of those gatekeepers for the mere fact that he has not spoken out. And you can look at LeBron as far as what LeBron does socially for his people and speak up on racism, kind of make Michael Jordan dim in comparison to LeBron. So those are what I call gatekeepers. They make all the money, they're making decisions, but the people that look up to them are not progressive, and they won't speak up for injustices. All right. Tell you what, got another break coming up here, and let me see. Yeah, I got another break coming up, so we're going to go into that, and I got some Shaka Khan. Y'all stay tuned. This is 1370 WLTH. 1370. This is the best part of having a black-owned radio station. We can just cut right into the music. And here's my first caller. Hello, caller. You on air?
Hello, Freddie. Freddie, I commend you on your show this evening or this afternoon. And I just want to make a comment because it's very stimulating conversation. But first of all, I want to commend you on your candidness of not being perfect as it relates to being a male figure / father. And I just simply feel, I just really want to commend you for putting it out there, because our young men and young women should not repeat the same mistakes as those of us who came before us. And they are continuing to do that in mass, irresponsible quantities, because I think we have become mute and silent as it relates to what we should be teaching our children. You know, and I think you said it beautifully. If you know, and I can't say that I would be correct in saying the majority of black households are ran by females, but I do believe that certain conversations should be stimulated from a male and reinforced by a female. And if our black men are not talking to our black males as it relates to being physically responsible, when you got your Eve out there all day long doing what Eve did, it takes a man to have that conversation, in my opinion. I really want to commend you for opening that up today. And then as it relates to your second segment, I can only smile at that because if I were to separate the church from the leadership, so people don't get mad at trying to get your praise on to the Lord, because sometimes the leadership can be the oppressive part. And you know, some people will say, well, it's not the church's responsibility. Well, if the church considers itself to be a part of the kingdom, and the church is within a community, then it is the responsibility of the leadership to do well within that community, regardless of whether or not the parishioner is sitting in your pew. And so my whole point with this is I just simply think the leadership in most African-American churches lack faith. They don't believe in, they don't trust their parishioners. I remember, and it was a couple weeks ago, on one of the radio shows here, somebody asked the minister that was on the radio if it were possible to do a group health insurance. Well, the minister was not sure, so I can appreciate that. But the short answer is the creativeness of individuals who are trying to guide or protect those less fortunate than themselves will creatively come up with something to help your parishioners out as it relates to not having health insurance. The simple answer to that is it only takes two people to create a group. And any church in America can create a group health insurance plan. The onus on that is that the leadership of the church does not want to take the responsibility for that one parishioner who may not pay their premium, or that one parishioner who is being very reckless with their health, and every year the premiums are going up. So the church doesn't want to put itself in a position of responsibility. However, the church leadership will always want the parishioners to be responsible and make sure that they have. So I'm just, you know, as it relates to that, it's just, you know, our black church has to rise to the occasion of what they, well, you know, as they say, some came, some were called, and some just went. So, you know, you have to figure out what type of leader you want to follow, and then kind of go from there. But I commend your conversations this afternoon here, and I just smile because it's stimulating.
Let me ask you a question.
Mm-hmm.
Have you noticed that young folks can see the hustle in the church? They recognize the hustle, and they want to ask. The question is why we can't get young black folks back, because they see the hustle. They have all this technology. The question was, do you see that, or am I just blind thinking that, you know, I'm just blowing something out?
Freddie, I can only laugh at that, because the young people of today who don't want to have any association with the church. And you can tell they're out there seeking if they've had any foundation whatsoever. Yes, they detect the hustle in the church because they see no change in the communities that they go in and out of. And once again, they may very well say, well, if I go to X, Y, and Z church, and I'll use Gary, and I live right here in Gary, I may live down the block, but why should I go to that church when my minister doesn't even live anywhere in my community? And so leadership over the years, they've made choices that weren't necessarily in the best interest of the community, but it was in the best interest of their families and themselves. If you want to be like the Joneses and live like the Joneses, you may move out of the community because, and as sad as it's to say, there's I still kind of grieve in my heart as it relates to this, the husband and wife couple down there in Florida that shysted all of the parishioners out of, millions of dollars because they wanted to be like the Joneses. And the saddest thing that minister said was that you can't minister to poor people and be poor yourself. So you have to steal from people.
Right.
So, I'm not just saying that to bash a minister, but we need to pray for him. But, yeah, I think the young people as a whole today are not participants in the church because they feel the hustle. It's like the calling of tithe and offering. I think the black church does it in a manner where it is absolutely Chris Kennedy, and I just resonate on what he commented to me at our church a couple weeks back. It is such an oppressive manner and humiliating manner the way some black ministers do a call for tithe and offering. And it's very humiliating. And nobody wants to be humiliated or beat down or brow brushed about their situation. There needs to be another teaching behind the how-tos, because everybody in that congregation needs to understand that maybe I can't commit my dollars, but I can commit my time. I'm unemployed.
Well, see, I have a whole idea about that right there. Even, the church has become, I'm just going to say it. First of all, let me explain my background. My grandfather, Reverend Noble Sanders, founded Trinity Baptist Church in South Haven, Michigan, way back in 1942. He had 3 sons that end up being pastors.
Okay.
I have actually been in the preaching business myself. You see, I use the word preaching business.
Okay.
And I don't too much get along with my family right now, because when I brought out how my grandfather, he didn't know how to read, but he knew how to go listen to other preachers and plagiarize their preaching and then put his flair and his style on that. Okay, let me say this. All the minister alliances, I think we were part of, I think it was 40 churches that he was part of the Baptist Minister Alliance, and I saw everything. Now, I don't want to slam the church with a whole lot of stuff that I saw, but I saw everything, and I know what goes on. Mm-hmm. So it's very difficult for young folks because we have internet, and everything that they do is seen.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I'm kind of nervous. I'm kind of nervous about the journey that I want to take, but at the same time, I understand the pressure of the things that I could say that would bring pressure upon me and the station. Because let me tell you something. If you say something wrong, they will group together and smash you. I can just literally say that because I have watched it happen.
We're going to be people of faith.
So I'm not scared, but I also got to be on this radio and be responsible on the words that I say. Because everybody, just because you're a pastor, and you went to school you could still be a fool. You can still be led by emotion. How dare he get on the radio and say who he think he is? Because the church is a power structure. Even the way the pulpit is set up, even the way that they ask for your money, what you were talking about. There's a psychological thing that happens when the money is being received. Now, we're not talking about the spiritual things right now. So people, I'm not talking about your Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ. I'm not talking about your belief. I'm talking about when Jesus went in and turned over all the money makers and tables and stuff like that, how things was being misused in his name. So when you psychologically play on a person's emotion, the music, when it comes from offering, they get you a different type of music. They get you hyped up. You know, they get you ready. Like, it like, oh, you're going to go to heaven if you pay your money. And there's a psychological upbeat, and the music is jumping. And, well, the Lord is going to bless you and do this and do this and do this. That becomes the forefront of the ministry. Instead of teaching people how to live and how to own businesses and how to be successful, they know how to be successful at getting their money, but don't teach everybody else how to be successful in the society that we live in. Now, I know I'm going to catch heat for that, but I don't care. It has to be said.
Yeah, you're going to catch a little heat on that, but, you know, at the end of the day, Freddie, good leadership of faith, leadership that understands the gospel, can discern what you just said there and take what they need to change, possibly, or continue, possibly, and move people forward.
Great.
Move people forward.
Well,
ministers that say, you know, some will accuse you of talking prosperity preaching right now, but you can count the numbers, and I always tell people, and I mentioned earlier, you know, people need to understand that it's a participatory type arena, and I'm being very general here. I don't have no theological nothing. I'm just a lover of the Lord, and I try to do the best I can here and there. My shepherd continues to plant seeds, but all of that to say, you know, you have to move with people forward, because if your parishioners are unemployed and they're not getting the skill set in an environment that they feel comfortable in. Nobody feels comfortable going down to Work One or DCFS and they want to learn information beforehand so they can feel more empowered and not just be treated like a $2 trick when they go to these resources and with no information. So if the church cannot be a provider or education, because it's the most intimate most people will have the opportunity to be if we can get them back in the church. We're just wild right now. So these young millennials, you can't tell them nothing. They think everything because they're getting information from who knows what with the internet, and they're running with it. So you're gonna catch some heat on that one.
That's what I'm here for.
The leadership of the church will be able to discern that and say, take it to the room in prayer and then come out with, a direction that they want to go in. That's, like I said, we can be people of faith. They can galvanize, try to destroy, but is that really Christian life? If it shall be, it shall be. So I can't worry about speaking the truth, and I'm glad you are speaking the truth. And in the black community, we just need to say what we need to say. I think, one of our colleagues on one of the issues and answers mentioned there are 3 types of churches in the community: prosperity, legacy, and family.
Let me ask you a question.
What type of leadership do you want to follow?
Okay. I always ask this question. With all the different diversities of churches in our black neighborhood, and everyone claimed that the Lord is coming to get theirs or their particular doctrine, who is he coming to pick up then? If everybody has a different way and a different belief of getting there, who's going to be the one that get there? You don't have to answer that because it's a trick question in its own. I appreciate your call.
Okay, thank you.
All right. 1370 WLTH. This is your guy, Freddie Flo, and we mixing it up, chopping it up. And since I went that can come and get in the, I'm going to call it the hot seat and answer some difficult questions because I'm not going to pad it for you. I'm going to ask you questions that are very difficult, not concerning scripture. Let's keep that. I'm not going after your belief. I'm talking about, let's say this. Let me turn it a different way. Let's look at the faith-based initiative George Bush put in effect. There's churches that have the 501c3. To me, that's like getting in bed with the government. You got money for your pantries, you got money for your food, and you think you're doing good. But the faith-based initiative, what we call the FBI, is just like the FBI. They spy on you. Now the federal government can look at your taxes and see what your church is doing. So know what that does? That stops the church from being the power leader of the community. When I have a problem at my job a long time ago, I could go to the church, and there was power in the church with the. Let me call over there and let me go over here. The preacher had power. He could go to your job and talk to some. He could go to the school and speak on your behalf. Where's that now? Ain't no church going out here. Ain't no church leader going to march for nothing for you as an individual. Now, when I say that, I'm not talking about all churches. There are churches that you could go to your pastor and he would go to the end of the earth. But collectively, as a group, that's like the number of black-owned radio stations. 10,000. Black folks make up 1% of ownership. So that would probably be 1%. What can that actually do, putting a dent into the problem, unless collectively you can get all the preachers together and say we're not going to stand for this in our community? Put it this way. Another analogy that I could use. The brothers that's sagging, wearing their pants down to their butt. I blame women for that. The minute women start accepting guys that look like that, they'll pull their pants up on their butt tomorrow. Except for a few that's twisted in the mind. That's a different story too. But it would change tomorrow. The same thing. If we could get our church collective together, I'm not getting with that church because he got a different denomination. They believe in, I get the Holy Spirit by speaking in tongues. Another one says, I get the Holy Spirit when you be submerged in the water and come up. You see how those evangelicals was able to vote for Donald Trump? They put all their differences aside and voted for Donald Trump. Oh, I could be so difficult with this one. I'm trying to think. I'm going to say it. They had Christianity way before it was introduced to us. We was introduced to it by them. How can they say, I'm going to put this on the corner over here? Oh, I know he said all this racial stuff and all this bias and all this sexual stuff. But, you know, I'm a good Christian, but I'm going to put that to the side as an evangelical. I got to look at my physical, what's beneficial for my children later on. We need America to be great again. So I'm going to put my spirituality on the shelf, white woman and white man, and you voted for Donald Trump. Got the right to do that. But black folks, here's my problem. Why can't we collectively put our personal issues, even spiritual issues, to the side to help us physically today get out of this problem that we are in? Because only we are going to be able to solve it. And the church, believe it or not, as much as I'm beating up the church, that's the only light we have. It's 400 of them plus in this community. Imagine if all these churches could get together on one accord and we could find one thing we want to fight for. and not everybody going on their own direction or want glory. Then you say God is the only one that get the glory? This is Freddie Flo. I'm just kicking it off the top of my head. I'm going to take a break and come back. I hope I have some phone calls. I dare you to call. 1370.
I came to bring the pain, hardcore from the brain. Let's go inside my astral plane. Find out my mental, based on instrumental records. Hey, so I can write monumental methods. I'm not the king, but this is decaf. I stick 'em for the cream. Check it, just how deep can get deep as the abyss. And brothers is mad fish, accept it. In your cross color, clothes you crossed over. Think I totally crossed out and crisscrossed. Who the boss? Get tossed to the side, and I'm the dark side of the force. Of course it's the method. Man from the Wu-Tang clan, I be hectic and coming for the headpiece, protect it. 2 tears in a bucket. You want the ruckus? Bustin' at me, bro. Now bust it. Styles like it's buck wow. Method man on pulling fouls. I'm sick, insane, crazy. Driving Miss Daisy out of fucking mind. Now I got mine, I'm swayed. Is it real, son? Is it really real, son? Let me know it's real, son. If it's really real. Something I can feel, son. Load it up and kill one. One of your deal, son. If it's really real. When I was a little stereo, I listened to some champion. I always wonder when I will be the number one. Yeah. Now you listen to the doggone, and the doggone sun rain. And in the doggone come test me. Me, I gonna lick out them brains. Brothers wanna hang with the map, bring the rope. The only way you hang is by the neck. Rope off set, come into your projects, take it as a threat. Better yet, it's a promise coming from a vet on some movie, you know. You can bet your bottom dollar, hey, I bomb. And it's gonna get even worse for the God. It's the woo coming through, thinking, oh, they gone. Moving on your last outpour, Mr. Meth. Came to represent and call my name in your chest. You can come test, realize you're no contest. Son, I'm the gun that went that old Wild West. Quick on the draw with my hands on the floor. 9-3-11 with the bucket rhymes galore. Check it cause I think not when this hip hop's like proper. Rhymes be the proof while I'm drinking 90 proof, huh? Vodka, no OJ, no straw. When you give it to me, yeah, give it to me raw. I've learned that when you drink absolute straight, it burn. I love to get my chest hair as a perm. I don't need a chemical blow to pull up. All I need is chemical bank to pay them up.
1370, my guy, Method Man, bringing the pain, baby. All right, let's go down. It's got Freddie Flo, man. We just ending. I got another segment. I got a whole bunch of them. I got a lot of stuff I can wring off my chest today. Now, being an outsider, because that's how black folks. That's how we are. If you're not from this place or that place, you're an outsider. You know, I dealt with it living 5 years in Mississippi when Marion sent me down to take care of one of his stations down there. Boy, if you want to know how it is to be ostracized, there you go. Just because I come from the North, I was considered by the Minister Alliance, well, he's up to something. You know those Northerners, you know. Quick talking, fire jive talking. Boy, I tell you, I think every person need to experience that. Wow. All right, Gigi, I got your text. But anyway, hey, I'm moving on from the church conversation, and I'm about to talk about something because you know the economics of Gary, and I'm gonna talk about something Gary has a gold mine at right now. I need only like 12 flight hours to become a licensed Cessna pilot. So I love aviation. I actually build remote control airplanes. And so what I'm getting at when I say this, I know aviation pretty well. I can listen to the airport and know what they're talking to when they're talking about when they're talking to the airplane or the pilot, giving them instructions on how to fly. Your gold mine, in my opinion, is not the Genesis Center. It's your airport. The other gold mine, but I heard years ago talking to Marion Williams, that over by the expressway, we allowed that to become wetlands and drainage for other cities to drain their wetlands over here. Now, whoever made that deal had to be crazy because, you know, the corridor is where the business is at over there on the highway. If we could ever get them wetlands changed, you know, because if you're coming off 65 and 94, let our hotels be the first ones that they see off the highway. But enough said with that. Back to the airport. Now, the airport is a difficult situation, but it's very simple. People in red tape makes it difficult. I heard every excuse the other day why Gary Airport would have a problem. The most craziest one I heard is that O'Hare would have a problem with it in Midway. That just says to me they didn't understand what they were talking about. Midway is landlocked. O'Hare is landlocked. There's times where planes have to stay in the air 30 minutes before they can land. What's the nearest airport that has a rail line close to it? And then they said, how would we pay for it? I just told you. O'Hare in Midway is landlocked. But if people, you would definitely have to partnership with O'Hare in Midway and let them run your airport and you sit back and receive money. That's the American way. Let somebody else work for you while you make money, Gary. But, you know, sometimes people are so stubborn with, I want to have my hand in it, I want to control this. Some money is better than no money. Let somebody else manage your airport and you receive the cash. I know it sounds complicated, but it's simple as that. We as human beings make things complicated. You could find, and what I mean, what would make people want to land at Gary Airport? Well, this. If you could run a rail line that's pretty much almost there directly to the airport, people get off the plane, can take the train to downtown Chicago, Randolph, Randolph in Michigan at Millennium Station. I do it all the time. You're right in the heart of downtown Chicago, where most people that fly in and take a cab, you would get there before they would, because you would have nonstop rail service directly to downtown Chicago. If it was direct, nonstop, that would take less than 20 minutes to get there, 20, 25 minutes to get there. So that's the incentive. Well, land in Chicago and have to fight through that big airport and have to go through all this traffic and to get downtown, or get off the airplane, get on a train, and go straight downtown Chicago. Here's the next thing. How would we make money? Well, if you were able to do that at the airport, you wouldn't have to worry about that, because you would have Delta, you will have American Airlines. They would love to sit and make that a distribution place for them. I might be just talking out my neck. Who am I? You know what I'm saying? Who am I to come here and don't have a master's degree in any of this? Who am I? Because remember, our best education comes from white folks. Did I say that? Yes, I did. Some of the best educated people are self-learned. Need I say Steve Jobs? Just as one. There's many others. So you can't really say and trash that person's idea just because he don't have a super formal education like you do. Like I said, remember, your best education come from somebody else. Tell you what, we're gonna, let me see here. I got breaks coming up in 20 minutes, so I'm gonna go to my next segment, and that's education. Wow, that is a tough one, but actually it's simple. People might say, oh, that guy on the radio, he's a racist. But you got to understand, a racist means he loves his race before he caters to anybody else's race. The suffix is right there. I mean, I didn't do well in English anyway. Who am I? But I know what a dentist specializes in. He specializes in teeth. I know what a scientist specializes. He specializes in science. So if somebody called me a racist, I might say yes, because I specialize in loving my people first and trying to make things happen for them first. You might call me a Garveyite or a Pan-Africanist. Either way, we have to learn how to put our people first. First. Why we can't do that? Why? I remember Claude Anderson. If anybody know who Claude Anderson is, he has a great book called, I forgot the title of it, but it's he's an economic major. He served on the with Jimmy Carter back in the day, but he went to Detroit and he wanted to set up Blacktown. Had all these companies, black companies, willing to come and set up their businesses, and this is a fact. Look it up. His name is Claude Anderson, and look up the black movement. The black business movement in Detroit. This was around 2000 in the late 90s. And he had set up over 1,000 black businesses to move and set up their own area, like a Chinatown, like a Greek town. Do you know what the black people on the council said? That would not be fair, and then they did not want to be inclusive. We wasn't inclusive to everybody. Chinatown is not inclusive. Matter of fact, they have barriers. Even Spanish communities and everything, they have barriers to keep you from building certain things. And some of those barriers are language and culture. Those are barriers to stop and protect and keep their nature. We don't have no barriers. I mean, could you see a Chinese person coming in your community to buy soul food? When the last time you seen a Hispanic family come in to go buy soul food or chicken from your restaurant? They support, and it's not, I love what they do. They support each other first. We got to get that. They support each other first. Even this radio station, this joker should, man, everybody here should be making good money in their pocket. This radio station shouldn't have to, we should be able to open up many more radio stations like this and keep communication going with all the different shows and the different points of views we have here. But you know what? Black folks don't like to do business with each other. I mean, if you put a white face on it, you know, maybe it might work then. Call me if you think I'm lying. It's the number's 219-885-1371. Now, back to the education before I went on that little rant, because it's easy for me. I don't have anything written down to keep me on point here, and I need that from time to time. But this is my first show. I don't have anything written down, so I'm just winging it, coming off the top of my mind. But I knew things that I wanted to talk about. Here's this other. We was talking about education. Wow. My boss. I know he's listening. We battle about this all the time. You know, we have charter schools. And he's right. Who's making the money at the charter school? All you have to do is follow the money. In anything in this society, in this capitalistic society, all you have to do is follow the money. Who's making the money with the charter schools? Who's setting the curriculum? Who's setting the guidelines? Come on, y'all. Y'all should know from the time President Reagan got into office that public school was no longer going to benefit black folks. Oh boy, this guy is crazy right here. He said that public school will no longer benefit black folks. It's very simple. You could be so blind, wanting to forgive and wanting to love everybody, that it makes you blind that who controls the economics in this country. And I'm just going to be, I don't know how else to say this. I don't want to say, listen, man, I find myself feeling like I have to defend myself right now and say that I have a mixed child or some crazy stuff like that to justify what I'm saying. I do not hate white folks, but I understand the power structure. I understand there's nothing in America that we operate or control to benefit us as a whole. And when I say that, I mean this. Bluntly as I can. White folks in power as a whole collective group are never, ever going to teach our children to take over the economic sector from their children. You understand? Did I make? Do you really think that the people in power are going to allow us to teach our children to learn the strategies and techniques to take over the world from their children or take over the country from their children? Do that make sense to anybody? Do you see that with all these people running around with all these education degrees that you got from white folks? Especially Marion will let you know. Marion Williams will let you know. He will tell you, you know what? Back when in the 60s, he went to a black university. I ain't going to say which one it was, unless he call and say, go ahead. But I'm going to take your calls in a minute. But he said he had all white instructors in a black school. 1370, you on the radio.
Good morning, good afternoon, sir.
All right, go ahead.
I've been listening to what you've been talking about, and I would like to think that while much of what you have to say possesses merit, it raises the question of whether or not, if you have a monopoly on these ideas, and if in fact other people have thought of them, why do you suppose none of them have been pursued in recent time?
Okay, I can answer that for you. We have people.
I'll hang up and let you.
Okay. What I believe, and I don't hold the keys or the answers. I got eyes and I can see and I can read and I can look at history. They always have somebody that they pick out of our community to be the gatekeepers. What does he mean, the gatekeepers? Wow, interesting. Gatekeepers are those people who come from our race that they give certain prestige and positions to that everybody listens to. Now, like I said, I don't hold the ideas, and I'm sure many people have talked about it, and I'm not the first to talk about it. Here's the greatest thing about black-owned radio. You will only hear it on black-owned radio stations across the country. There's only 44 of us left out of 10,000. And then the rest of the time, if you know how to search the internet, you can hear everything else. So I don't hold the key. All I want to do is stir up conversation and not look at it at one-dimensional. 1370, caller, you on air.
Hello, I'm listening to you. So your name is Freddie?
Yes, ma'am.
I like your ideas. I was at the council meeting this past Tuesday, and I mentioned that Gary was built like in 1906. what built Gary, the people that lived in Gary. So what is wrong with the people in Gary bringing Gary back? You know what it is? Black people are so afraid of each other taking their money. That's not the way to be. You need to come on down the line so that you can have a town. And that's all I had to say.
Okay,
have a good day.
Appreciate your calling and opinion. Now, let me say this about Gary. I don't know diddly. Marion brought me here. Marion Williams brought me here to be engineers on his station. So I can't say anything about city council. I met the mayor, and she seems like a beautiful, nice person to me. So, that's all I can say about that. I don't know anything about local politics or what goes on. Only thing I ventured about was the airport. So forgive me on my ignorance with not knowing the intricacies of Gary, Indiana. With that said, I'm going to set up here for a break. I welcome your phone calls. Area code 219-885-1371. Hey, next week, I'm trying to, I came on before and I had Dr. Umar Johnson on my show before. I'm trying to set up some stuff to get him back. This is new for kind of like this type of talk radio for Gary. I have, and people that don't know who Dr. Umar Johnson is, he's a Pan-Africanist, and he's a direct descendant of the late, great Frederick Douglass. Also, there's many other people that I've been in conversation with. Brother Polite, 32 years old, interesting individual. He will rile you up when we get to talking about religion because he's what we call an agnostic on the virtue of being, put it this way, he's a polygamist. Boy, that takes you out your comfort zone right there. I can see you. Ooh, I don't know about that boy coming on the radio. He's semi-atheist. Oh, my goodness. Don't believe in God. How did this? Woo. But he fights, and he has solid information that helps young folks. So, I'm trying to reach out to him. And, of course, Dr. Claude Anderson. A lot of those shows that I do, I'm going to have to catch them and record them and then replay it back because I got to go with their time limits and stuff like that. This is 1370. This is Freddie Flo. We are going to go into a break, and I'll be right back.
I came to bring the pain, hardcore from the brain. Let's go inside my astral plane, find out my mental, based on instrumental records. Hey, so I can write monumental methods. I'm not the king, but this is decaf. I stick 'em for the cream. Check it, just how deep can get. Deep as the abyss, and brothers is mad fish, accept it. In your cross color, clothes you crossed over. Think I totally crossed out and crisscrossed. Who the boss? You tossed to the side, and on the dark side of the force. Of course, it's the method. Man from the Wu-Tang clan, I be hectic and coming for the headpiece, protect it. 2 tears in a bucket. On the ruckus, bustin' at me, bro. Now bust it. Styles, I guess buck wow. Method man on pulling fouls. I'm sick, insane, crazy, driving Miss Daisy out of fucking mind. Now I got mine, I'm swayed. Is it real, son? Is it really real, son? Let me know it's real, son. If it's really real, something I can feel, son. Load it up and kill one. Wanna deal, son. If it's really real. When I was a little stereo, I listened to some champion. I always wonder when I will be the number one. Yeah. Now you listen to the doggone, and the doggone sun rain. And in the gun come test me. Me, I gonna lick out them brains. Brothers wanna hang with the meth, bring the rope. The only way you hang is by the neck. Rope off set, come into your projects, take it as a threat. Better yet, it's a promise coming from a vet on some old Vietnam. You can bet your bottom dollar, hey, I born. And it's gonna get even worse for the God. It's the woo coming through, thinking, oh, they gone. Moving on your last out for Mr. Meth. And the representing call my name in your chest. You can come test, realize you're no contest. Son, I'm the gun that won that old Wild West. Quick on the draw with my hands on the floor. 9 to 11 with the bucket rhymes galore. Check it cause I think not when this hip hop's like proper. Rhymes be the proof while I'm drinking 90 proof, huh? Vodka, no OJ, no straw. When you give it to me, yeah, give it to me raw. I've learned that when you drink absolute straight, it burn. Enough to get my chest hair as a perm. I don't need a chemical blow to pull up. All I need is chemical bank to pay them up. Is it real, son? Is it really real, son? Let me know it's real, son, if it's really real. Something I can feel, son. Load it up and kill one. Want it raw deal, son, if it's really real.
Drive the Gospel Music Highway each and every Saturday with Miss Daisy Sanders from 11 o'clock to 12 p.m. This award-winning radio music personality knows good gospel music. Miss Daisy loves entertaining you with all types of gospel music.
Gina Bellasaro, Colin McCullen, and Reverend John Jackson will keep you glued to your radio with issues and answers on Wednesdays from 6 to 8 p.m. every Wednesday. Call them and join the discussion. Always provocative and interesting. Tune in to Jonathan Booz, Scott Cannon, and Lloyd Fisher on Monday's edition of Issues and Answers. These hosts will hold your attention and your response to the most interesting topics of the day. Join Jonathan, Scott, and Ray each Monday from 6 to 8 p.m. on WLTH AM 1370.
For more news, weather, and community focus, stay tuned to AM 1370 WLTH Radio. AM 1370 AM is the region's choice and the people's voice.
Many of us are blessed that the holiday season is upon us, and the team of Northwest Indiana Sewer Cleaning Services is very proud to extend our holiday greetings to you and your family. If you are in need of drain or sewer services, call NWI at 455-3029. Our services will ensure your holiday season is filled with joy. Have a blessed holiday. Remember, 455-3029. Yeah, I like that. I'm gonna use that. I'm gonna use that right there. That siren. Welcome back to the Freddie Flow Show. It's going down. Let's do this disclaimer real quick. The views expressed by the host and callers of this show are not necessarily the views of WLTH radio management, owners, sponsors, or advertisers. Now, with that said, we're going to go directly to the lines. 1370 live on the radio.
Hi, Freddie Flo. I like that name.
Thank you.
I just happened to be turning on my radio. I'm in the car driving around, getting ready to try to do some Christmas shopping, looking for some real discount prices. But anyway, I just wanted to say, when I turned the radio on, did I hear you say something about black folks don't like doing business with black folks? Did I misunderstand that? Or don't do business with black folks, something like that.
They don't do it and they don't like. Here's what I mean. I don't mean to take that. You caught that at the end. Mm-hmm. Historically, we think, how can I phrase this? Okay, and I'm just passing on something that was passed to me. We think white folks' ice water is colder than black folks. Mm-hmm. Like, we can't make a superior product because once we try something black and we have a bad experience,
okay,
we just tarnish the whole race. You understand what I'm saying? We just
no, I don't understand.
Okay,
what
go ahead.
You mean when you use all-inclusive terms like black folks, they, them. What I would like for you to do, and you study Mr. Anderson and some of the other great thinkers,
of our time is to kind of read thoroughly what they really were saying. I don't believe that they would just unilaterally talk about black people as a whole. Or there are certain types of thinking. For example, I also go back in history in terms of what I was taught, and I was taught through experience, through my elders, through having great experiences, because I grew up, half of my life was in segregated situations, so I had a very, very good, full, rich, environment, good and bad. But I was also taught how to listen to people who are spreading bad messages about your people, whether they are black people or white people. And one of the things I was taught was to avoid listening to or being too much around people who unilaterally talk negatively about blacks. For example, have you noticed that in situations where the comment black folks, we, they are, among some people is usually negative? For example, let me ask you a question. What are things that, if you want to use the unilateral they, what are things that black people like doing with black people? Give me an example of something that black people like doing with black people.
Entertainment, movies, just like everybody else, church, sports activities. But let me say this. I thank you for what you just said, because I had to take a look of how I said it. And you absolutely correct, because I generalized the whole race. Mm-hmm. And I know my thinking can be flawed, but I'm one to take negative criticism and use it. And I thank you for that, because I did say that, and I did generalize everyone, and then I did say black folk. I didn't break it down and say a lot of black folks. I just generalized the whole group, and I thank you for correcting me on that.
Well, even a lot of black folks, what I'm saying is that Martin Luther King said, judge people by not the color of their skin, but the content of their character. And that not only applies to so-called white people, but it applies to our people as well. So it's the content of the character that I look for, okay, and not the color of skin. And also, a lady called in to talk about early Gary history. In 1906, when Gary was founded officially as a city, and a lot of people don't know this, obviously, I guess, is that 1/3 of the U.S. steel workers from that early era were African Americans, black people, Negroes, colored, whatever, coming up from different places seeking a better life. So we also have to be careful about saying the people who built Gary are the ones that we should not be afraid to come back and rebuild it. We don't know who those people are. We don't know their positions. Most of them, like many of our people, were at the bottom, the dredges, economically, and they were desperately looking for places. They lived in tents. They lived in hovels. They lived everywhere. The first building in Gary was built by U.S. Steel. That's the Gary Land Company building that the Historical Society is maintaining for the city of Gary. And, of course, everybody knows that it needs help, and they know my mother's the one that, kind of a monument to her study of history. But she was the one that uncovered the fact that 1/3 of the very earliest of the steel pioneers were black people from all over, Negroes, colored people, and all that. So again, we have to be kind of careful how we say things, and we need to maybe study things a little bit more than we do. Everybody built this city. We're under strictest of segregation laws and barriers. African Americans in Gary had a thriving community. It wasn't just Gary. It was all over. And under the strictest of segregation and wrong, although those things are wrong because we're paying taxes, into the system that many of us don't get benefits from. But the point is, like you were talking about the charter schools, but the point is that we don't give up. We survive and thrive, very often thrive. And if you go into the history of this country and what black people did, they didn't just sit around groveling around in the dust crying, oh, me, oh, my life is over. No, they picked up.
Let me ask you.
They lifted as they climbed, and that was a great model of the great African-American women's movement, too, lifting as we climb. Okay, let me shut up now.
I want to ask you a question. You sound like you have great knowledge and you're a historian of Gary. It might be a difficult question, But yet and still, I'm going to ask the question. You said you grew up in segregation era, correct?
Under segregation era, yes, under the segregation situation. In other words, prior to, when it was segregation, but I also grew up among the protests of our people, the struggles of our people, the fight of our people, the fact that our people just never gave up. We knew we were citizens. I'll give you an example of the great Lutheran educator. She was one of them was an African American woman by the name of Rosa Young. Rosa Young was an educator. She was very, very upset. She lived in Alabama, and she was very upset because during her era, many black people owned farms and land, and they were paying into the system, which they had to the county system to support public projects like education and things like that. But their own children and grandchildren could not go to the public schools. And this was in the 1800s, right, late 1800s. So she was distraught, and she couldn't understand what she could do. So she went to who was considered the great educator at that time. One of the great educators was Mr. Washington, Booker T. Washington. So she asked Professor Washington, what could she do? She knew she would have to have private schooling, find some kind of schooling for the children who could not go to school in her area because they were not allowed because of the strict segregation laws, even though their forebearers and their relatives, many of whom were paying into the system. So he told her to go to the Lutherans. He said the Lutherans at that time were very community-directed and were investing, and she did. And as a result of the work over the years that she was able to do and became a great lay leader, Concordia College, Selma was developed. The school systems were built. They were private, at that time. Anyway, it's a story that a lot of people don't know, but they don't need to necessarily know that particular story because it's reflective of many of the struggles and the way we as a people were able to overcome them and what we had to do is what I'm saying, So I just try to be careful at all times in terms of just willy-nilly generalizing.
So what?
White or black, for that matter, white or black.
So what you think happened with the disparity from our community, the way we used to be together, I would say during segregation and post-segregation. What, in your opinion, what you think happened with our thrive to ownership, to own things, to control our own destiny?
Are you saying that we don't have that?
I'm asking
anymore among some of us, many of us.
I'm not saying that. I was just asking the question. What do you think happened to where we don't have that? That drive. I was talking to Mr. Williams the other day, and he was saying people had drive. Used to walk miles and miles to go to school. They were hungry to do things, and I want to know what happened to that drive. As a kid, I kind of fought my people, my parents, because looking back, I didn't suffer enough. So what do you think?
Well, what would you think? For example, the charter school. I'm of the group that believes that the way the charter schools got over was scamming people, particularly people who did not have the means in many situations to have the kinds of homes and educational opportunities and all that. And I think the silence, it wasn't so silent, but one of the messages was that, the charter school is like a private school. If I send my child there, they're going to get a better education than they get in the public schools where they have to go to school with all kinds of people, blah, blah, blah. That's part of the other myth. But anyway, and I think that's what they did. And, of course, people became very disappointed when they saw that what was really going on with charter schools, because it was kind of new,
Well, anything...
I think a lot of it is a lot of the disappointment. Our people have always striven and still strive for the best that they can get out of anything that they can do, whether they're at the very lower edge of the economic ladder or wherever. I don't think our people, in many cases, but I don't want to generalize, I don't think they've given up. I think they're just constantly searching for new ways and new opportunities. Opportunities are closing in. You should definitely know that now
right.
in terms of what's going on in this country.
Right.
But the luta continua, is that not correct?
Right. Now, Say that again. I didn't hear
The
that.
struggle continues, is what I'm saying. It continues. I do not see hopelessness. I see maybe anger. A lot of times I see confusion, bewilderment, maybe in terms of the young people and all that. But I don't really see people just giving up and just throwing their hands up. I think they're just trying to find ways to navigate a system that's beginning to close in so terribly. Not just on us, it's going to close in on a whole lot of folks.
Oh,
starting to now.
Right, and I'm going to talk about that on my next at the 4 o'clock segment. But interesting you said that, because I have to watch myself and how I talk. I was talking to a lady friend of mine, and she said, if I listen to you, you sound like the whole world finna crash in. And all I was saying is you got to make sure you're not part of the matrix. Now, as our DNA, we are survivors naturally, everything that we have undertaken. But right now, there's roadblocks with education that's being thrown at us every which way we try to get. The charter school is a byproduct. I've been down in the South, and now what they use the charter school for, they use it, another word for it is academies. You know, they come up with academies, and now they're trying to figure out a way to take public funding to privatize the schools down there, because, you know, people don't have money to pay for a private school now. So down there, they're trying to figure out how to siphon money from the public system. And through the invention of charter schools, they found a way and loopholes to do that. You know, as you know, what's her name, the head from Michigan? I can't remember her name. That's how useless she is to me. She's head over education, DeVos. Betsy DeVos?
They put in charge.
She didn't understand. When I was looking at her confirmation hearing, she didn't understand none of the questions that were put forth to her, but all she understood was privatizing the school system. Now, like I mentioned before, and I say it again, we can't expect the people that control the education system to teach our children to take over the economic sector from their children. If it's going to be done, we're going to have to do it by our own schools and individually. This is why the church, I said, you can't get away with the church, because the church still holds a very important thing in our community. That's a place where we have a lot of retired, smart, older people that are useful, where our children can get education from. I'm glad
you said that, because you're absolutely right. That part I really agree with.
See, the churches are closed, but you got so much knowledge. You got so much experience there, to why I was like, well, why can't churches just open the door and get elderly people to come down and be with children that want to learn? Now, you know, you can't stick every one of our children in there, because, you know, but the ones that desire.
I'm going to take real exception with you on that. I've never seen a child that didn't want to learn and wasn't doing everything they could to learn, whether we liked the way they learned or not. They're born learners. That's what childhood is. Childhood, the whole natural part of childhood is all about learning how to navigate, learning how to be in the world that they were born into.
I'll stand to be corrected on that
everything,
one. Yeah,
everything that they do is about learning.
I can see that.
Whether it's, you know, socially acceptable or not, they're always looking for a way to learn something. They're growing, they're learning. Even the teenage years, the early teenage years that we all feel so impelled to try to run away from, and I mean that, but we can't, you know, because those are the years in which they're making the transition from childhood to early adulthood, and their bodies are going through changes, their emotions and all of that. I mean, we really need to stop and think how to really define the things in our society, and stop believing everything that we hear or read, especially from people who probably don't know anything too much themselves. And when you were talking about the people in the churches, the older people, not only the formally educated older people, but I just went to a funeral of a lady that was with the foster grandparents program. It was her homegoing, and she was teaching. We have a summer program, you know, for children and young adults, not young adults, youth up to 14. And she one day just started teaching sewing. And her first class was a class of about 5 little boys who had seen a little boy sew up his pocket on his favorite shirt. And I don't know, it was just happened. You know, she wasn't formally hired to teach sewing, but she started teaching. And then she started expanding. She started teaching girls how to coupon, how to save. She talked to the young girls about what to do with the little monies that they had. If they wanted to buy things, how to buy things properly, and all of that. I mean, just good old common sense. And every one of these churches has people like that, formally educated, who can help with the academics and everything like that, and then those who can help in so many other ways, and not just the children, some of the young parents out here who are just kind of wondering, what am I going to do? And I agree with you. Those two elements can come together. Those that are, say, in the churches can somehow reach out to those outside of the churches. I think that would be a wonderful way to start moving forward. Don't you think so?
Oh, yeah. We need to find somebody to organize that. Hey, I appreciate your call. I got to go to break. Call back.
Good luck to you.
Thank you.
And keep flowing.
All right. 1370 WLTH. Real talk, real radio. Be right back.
Kingdom Dance and Apparel Studios in Constance Wesley Clinton would like to wish all citizens in Northwest Indiana a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. Contact Connie for some holiday gifts at 219-545-6198 or the website kdancestudio.com.
Hello, my name is Attorney Roy Dominguez. For myself, my family, and members of my law office, we want to wish you, your family, and friends a Merry Christmas, a Happy Kwanzaa, and a prosperous New Year. My law office is located at 7895 Broadway in Maryville. My phone number is 219-769-6213. We want to wish you and your family and the citizens throughout our community a safe and a happy holiday season.
This is Gary Mayor Karen Freeman Wilson. As we pause to reflect during this holiday season, please accept my heartfelt wishes for a blessed and happy holiday from our family to yours and from Team Gary to yours.
This is Vanessa Allen McLeod. On behalf of the Urban League of Northwest Indiana and its Board of Directors, we wish you a very Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. Please call our office to schedule your tax appointment. If you earn less than $54,000 a year, your tax preparation is free. Senior citizens age 65 years or older, please come down and apply for the $100 elderly tax credit offered by the state of Indiana. Other services are offered by our agency as we collaborate throughout the community. Again, the Urban League wishes you a happy holiday, and I just want to thank you for all that you do to support the Urban League. Be blessed.
We here at Benny's Towing are very appreciative for your support this past year. As owner of Benny's, I extend my desire to have the Almighty God bless you and your family. Please keep family and friends in your prayer. As we embark on year 2018, if there is need for towing use or car purchase or leasing, call Kay at 219-944-1404. Happy holiday and have a prosperous new year.
Daryl's Auto Tech, located at 1500 Central Avenue in Gary, Indiana, says, when your car won't go, bring it to the pro. Daryl's Auto Tech is the doctor for sick cars. They handle all repairs from minor to major. Drive it, push it, tow it to 1500 Central Drive in Gary, Indiana for courteous and professional services. Call 219-882-1848. The doctor is in. Daryl's Auto Tech has a prescription for the holiday season for all. Best wishes for the coming year.
The home of $53 down. Driving in the state of Indiana without insurance is playing a dangerous game. You don't need to be involved in an auto accident requiring the need to show proof of insurance, and you cannot demonstrate proof of insurance. That's playing a dangerous game. Call Mo 219-884-7506 or visit Glen Park Auto Insurance located at 3992 Broadway in Gary, Indiana. Call Mo 219-884-7506 884-7506. Need Mo? Call Mo Griffin by phoning 219-884-7506. He's the man with the auto insurance plan. Mo Griffin ensures that you are properly covered with auto insurance in the following areas: SR22, SR50, rejected or suspended license.
Have you had your driving privileges suspended due to a court judgment that requires a 3-year SR22?
Call Mo at 219-884-7506 or visit Glen Park Insurance. Need more? Call Mo. Need more? Call Mo. Need more insurance? Call Mo. He's the man with the $53 insurance plan. Need more? Call Mo. Need more? Call Mo. Need more insurance? Call Mo Griffin at 219-884-7506 or visit Glen Park Auto Insurance. He's the man with the $53 insurance plan.
Now you can download the app Glen Park Auto Insurance. Get quotes anytime. Or make
Lakeside Properties has well-trained staff capable of handling your tree issues. Don't hesitate to call today. 219-885-1377. Lakeside Properties Tree Removal Service. Again, that's 219-885-1377.
Feet hurt? Do you have painful bunions, corns, or ingrown toenails? Your feet take a beating every day. Freeman Foot Care treats many types of foot and ankle problems. You don't have to live with the pain. Dr. Freeman can help you prevent problems that come with age, high-risk care, surgical care, and other services that become serious if left untreated. Call 219-882-2000. Freeman Foot Care now has a new state-of-the-art medical facility to serve you better. We are conveniently located at 201 East 5th Avenue, Suite E1, across the street from Railcats Baseball Stadium. Call for an appointment today at 219-882-2000. You may also visit our website at www.freemanfootclinic.com to obtain more information. Don't suffer with feet pain any longer. Call today, 219-882-2000. Dr. Freeman will treat your problems and teach you proper foot care.
Rediscover the sound of good music. You have now discovered the sound of sweet soul music. Now and then, it's fresh, new sound. This new sound is only heard on AM 1370 WLTH, the region's choice, the people's voice.
All right, AM 1370. Hey, you know, an hour ago, the National Weather Service just put out a snow warning, winter snow warning. Between 6 a.m. Sunday to 6 p.m., expect 4 to 6 inches of snow. Currently, it's 32 degrees outside. Expect a low of 28. And that's right, tomorrow at 6 a.m. to 6 p.m., the National Weather Service has issued a winter warning. Expect 6 inches closer to the lake. We're going straight to the phone lines right now. It's the Freddie Flo Show. Hi, you're on the phone with Freddie Flo.
It's Freddie.
Yeah, this is him.
Subjects. And the question I have for you is considering the any one of them, what is the greatest potential to be the best economic engine for particularly the city of Gary?
You're kind of breaking up a little bit. Your phone is going in and out. Can you adjust that for me? I don't know how you can do that, but because I didn't catch your question. There you go.
All right. The question is, if we identified that which had the greatest potential for being an economic engine, what would it be, and how would we go about seeding it or implementing it? What would be the first step or the second step, or what would launch it? I'll hang up and let you respond to that.
Oh, man, I know who this is. He just put me under the gun, man. Look. Wow. It's so much potential, like I mentioned, for us as a people, economically and socially. Wow. And to find that catalyst, I'm kind of speechless because I don't want to ramble on something that I don't understand fully, because I'm not an economist, because I really haven't been that successful with all my business ventures. So it's very hard for me just to come out and push that. So I'm going to decline to answer that question, and my defense would be, I would say my ignorance on that subject lead me to decline to answer that, because I don't want to. It's one thing to not, and ignorant is not a bad thing. We got to understand that's just you don't know. The foolish thing would be is to say some stuff that I don't fully understand, that I think it sounds good. So with that, I'm just going to bow out and pass that to somebody else. If they want to answer that question out there, feel free to call in and answer that question. It's the Freddie Flow Show. Like I said, I'm being as real as I can. I'm not trying to act like I'm somebody that I'm not. I have many issues in my life as well as yours. I just have an opportunity to talk to you folks on the radio. I'm not an expert. Only thing I'm an expert in is broadcast engineering, wires and electricity, and making things work like that. Everything else, just kind of read up on it and pick it up. And I put it this way, I'm in a privileged position to talk to you because of what I was able to do electronically that opened up this opportunity for me to get on the radio. Now, trust me, if I didn't have skills to build radio stations and travel, I'm lucky to travel across the South, did a little stuff in the West and on the East Coast, I wouldn't be sitting on this radio with you today. So I am not an expert. As a matter of fact, let me do this one more time. I have to read the disclaimer. The views expressed by the host and callers of this show are not necessarily those views of WLTH radio management, owners, sponsors, and advertisers. Give us a call right now, 219-885-1371 if somebody want to touch that one. The next segment, it's easy. It's politics. It's simple to me because it's simple to me because I kind of like to think that I grew up artistic. I once had a speech impediment. I attended special ed in school. I had a learning disorder. All the negative stuff that I could be diagnosed with, that was me. WLTH, you live on the radio.
Okay, I had two ideas.
Okay, there you go.
Okay. One of those ideas has to deal with the airport. If, in fact, we pursue the expansion of and use of the Gary Airport, how might we launch it as an economic engine? And if, in fact, there's a second possibility, since you mentioned the fact that one of the particular areas that people within this community is interested in and can get together on is entertainment, what could be done in the way of entertainment that would bring or be used as an economic engine by some mode of development? And hopefully you can respond to that.
In my opinion, you really want my opinion on that one? Nothing. Entertainment is exactly what it is. Who controls it? Who runs it? See, first of all, even to have an entertainment venue, there's a lot of things that has to be done. Your community has to be the beneficiary of these concerts. Secondly, your community has to be the people that come out and support it. People are not. Here's the sad truth. I know who this is on the phone, and we have these conversations all the time. People are not going to come to Gary when you got Chicago 28 miles away with big venues and multiple entertainment venues to go to. Now, if you throw when you say that, and I'm saying that there are things that can happen here and you can fill it up. But as far as filling it up so it would be sustainable, like you're talking about the Genesis Center, something that's jumping off every single Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, it's possible. It's very possible. Like I was corrected by the previous caller. I can't sound so grim. It is possible. But it takes the churches. You can make Gary a mecca for spiritual concerts. Where if you wanted to see gospel, you can make Gary. Gary has the opportunity, because I'm just thinking about stuff right now off the top of my head. I don't know no other city known for gospel music in this country. You know Nashville means country music, right?
Right.
So why can't, if we got 500 churches, why can't we make this the gospel mecca? It's a thought. Then I might see that working over there. Because that's something we are connected to as black folks as a whole. I got to watch what I say. As a whole, we are connected spiritually to our faith. And we have a rhythm. So there is a possibility if the right folks got together and you had the right leaders, and that I don't know who the right leaders are that you would put together to make that, but that would throw everybody for a loop if you made Gary the gospel mecca of the country. Think about that one. Have anybody, I mean, we got the soul and the spirit and the people. Good idea. That's what I see.
Well, the use of the Genesis Center is one aspect. I was thinking in terms of a theme park that would employ large numbers of people. And it's a form of entertainment that we travel great distances to become involved in. And I suspect throughout northwest Indiana and the surrounding area, approximately 200-mile radius, there are people that seek the same form of entertainment and travel distances to enjoy them yearly, particularly when the weather is favorable.
Here's the thing with amusement parks.
Now, so we don't have to depend solely on the Genesis Center, and certainly there exists a revenue stream that we can tap that we don't have to depend on federal money to launch.
See, my problem with amusement parks, that they're not successful. There's only a few that are successful, and then secondly, it's seasonal.
They do have a long season, though.
Well, how would you deal with Great America and Cedar Point? I mean, you know, that's less than 100 miles from here. Way less. I think it's about 75 miles. You know, and you would have to build something on a massive scale, and then where would you put it?
Well, if we've got enough land for an airport, certainly we have enough land within the perimeter of Gary to do that somewhere.
Now, I understand the jobs that will come along with that. There's a lot of jobs that will come along with the amusement park, but you're talking about a lot of money.
Yes.
More than an airport. And then we would probably have to deal with the opposition to that idea. I think what I mentioned before, in my opinion, I think we have a better chance of making the airport a secondary or a secondary output between Midway and O'Hare. And remember what I mentioned to you earlier was that they probably would throw money to help build that. and help upgrade it because they're landlocked. They can't build no more runways. They got a sound issue. Midway is definitely landlocked. And they have planes in the air that has to stay up 30 minutes before they can land if it's bagged up. You know, I don't know who you would talk to you know, because who am I? Who I know? There might be other things that stop it, but who am I? I'm just the guy that work on radio stations. But
well, if you consider the number of athletes that exist within the United States that are millionaires in the sports of basketball, football, baseball, and a variety of other fields, where do they make their investments? Are they likely to be interested in investments that would bring about a result like this in a community such as Gary?
Well, you asking difficult questions. Remember, a lot of that is just ideas that I'm throwing out there. To actually get it done, and then you're talking about philanthropists that would want to come to Gary. First of all, you got to have somebody that's willing and wanting to come. And then here's again, we're asking for a handout again.
No. I'm not asking as much as to consider, not as solely as an individual or a sponsor, but be part of a collective investment operation. To ask any one celebrity to be a sponsor of something of that type would be inappropriate.
You still there?
Yes, I'm there.
Let me take another call, and I'm going to think about what you said, and next week, I'll be ready for you.
Okay, I'll be listening.
I'll be ready for you. All right, thank you for calling. Oh, my next caller, he dropped the line. I was expecting him to be there. Okay. The line is still open. AM 1370 number is 219 885-1371. Like I mentioned before, there's a lot of stuff, you know, just because I'm on the radio, I'm not claiming to be authority. I just have ideas. And you know what an idea is. But the best ideas are still in the graveyard right now because there's millions and billions of people in the graveyard that just never put their ideas on the table to be heard. All right? AM 1370, we coming up on the top of the hour. Like I mentioned, there is a weather alert from the National Weather Service. A total snow accumulation between 4 and 8 inches of snow is expected, and totals over 6 inches may be in isolated areas closer to the lake. That warning is issued for 6 a.m. tomorrow. And it says it expires at 6 p.m. that evening. So we got a lot of snow coming. 1370, you're live on the radio.
Sir, my name's Frank Petritis. Can I ask you a question about helping Gary?
Go ahead.
To save any city, you need manufacturing. If for the next 4 years you only teach the design and manufacture of electric cars, where all ages, you know, whether you're 12 years old or whether you're 80 years old, could go to that school, you will make Gary #1 throughout the United States, if not the world. You must have manufacturing. Entertainment is good, but you still need the $10 from your pocket.
You're exactly right. You still need some income to find a way to pay for it. You're exactly right. And by bringing that up, I'm glad you did. Being in the field that I am, being an electronic broadcast engineer, I deal with solar, and I know a lot about alternative power Actually, when I was down in Louisiana, I also installed solar panels, the whole system from the rooter to the tutor. So I do got an understanding of that. But guess what? We did not act on those solar panels and all those alternative power tax discounts and stuff. They're gone. All the alternative power tax incentives are gone with this new tax bill. So, you know, you could possibly, I've seen people, go ahead.
What you're saying is true. There's always going to be market changes. Do you know anybody in Gary that would not like an electric car, an electric Mercedes convertible? Do you know anybody? And when you graduate from school, you know, whether you're 20 years old or 40 years old, everybody could go to the same school to design and manufacture electric cars. You stop all, sports should be taught in the parks. History and music should be taught in the churches. You go to school to learn how to design and manufacture electric cars.
I get you, without all the prerequisites that you when you go into school, you're going to learn that specific thing instead of everything else that is useless. I hear what you're saying. That's a.
Then how are you going to make it happen?
Wow. All I could do is get on here and talk about it. I'm an experimental.
You're afraid like everybody else to just say, hey, look, for the next 4 years, we're just going to design and manufacture electric cars. Gary will become the electric car capital. Everybody will come here to learn.
Here's the question. How do you set that in motion?
Somebody like you that knows how to acknowledge shortcomings. You're the first radio announcer I ever heard, whatever you call yourself, that says, you know, I don't know certain things. You know, the guy that called before about the airport that you've been talking to, he would be a good person.
Interesting.
I don't know. What's his name, the guy that called before?
I think that was Larry.
Okay. Get somebody like Larry. I'll come to the radio station there, and if you're there for the next hour, I'll take a drive by and introduce myself. Everybody must just teach, all the schools. You have to get rid of all the courses for the next 4 years. I'm not saying it's going to work perfectly, but for the next 4 years, we just learn how to design and manufacture electric cars.
Here's the problem with that. I see a problem. It happened with the EV1. Do you remember the EV1?
Yes.
The EV1 really wasn't a failure. They killed it. The big three killed it. There was what was the comedian? He had one, and he was upset because he had to. I think he died. He played Mork and Mindy. I forgot who that was.
Robin Williams.
Robin Williams was a great fan of that EV. Everything that we're talking about, all you can do, you can go on YouTube and look up the death of the EV car. Who killed it? Who destroyed that? So whenever we talk about things that's going to change the status quo, you got to think about the opposition and prepare for that as well. Look at Tucker. If everybody ever remembered Tucker, that was a beautiful car. Who introduced seatbelts. That's where seatbelts came from. But they killed it.
What you're saying is history.
Exactly.
It's history. If you teach the design and manufacture of electric cars, everyone will have a job.
You're right, because an electric car is very simple.
It's a golf cart. It's just a glorified golf cart.
It's a golf cart or an electric forklift. That some electric forklifts has a motor that turns hydraulics that drive the system. Matter of fact, I'm giving a lesson to people. whenever you see a locomotive train, the train does not have a transmission. It has that big diesel engine turns a generator. The generator turns an air compressor. But the wheels on a train has something called electric traction motors that make that thing move. So it's plenty of torque.
The electric cars now don't have like heavy transmissions and everything.
Direct drive.
Men and women, because everything is plastic and plugged, men and women could both do it. And a trouble with school is you need people like you that are in their 40s sitting next to a 20-year-old saying, look, you're here to learn. I'm here to learn. Everybody be quiet, show up on time.
You're right, but it has to start from somewhere. You're absolutely right. Hey,
you got the voice to speak to thousands of people.
Well, yes and no. Okay. I granted you're correct. You got me over here kind of like blushing. I appreciate your confidence in me, but I also I'm on radio in other areas as well. That's probably why it's kind of natural to me to get on the radio here. This is my first time here. But down south in Jackson, Mississippi, Mobile, Alabama, and New Orleans, I have radio shows that I talk down there, and I'm pretty frank. It's kind of easy here because I haven't got any death threats yet. But I haven't got to I haven't got into any of the serious stuff to where I had to look out the window, worried about that I hurt somebody's feelings, or I stepped on their toes spiritually and they feel like I got to uphold Jesus Christ or something like that and try to take you out. Look, I appreciate your call.
What is your name?
It's Freddie. I go by Freddie Flo on the radio. Actually, I was trying to find a name. This is kind of like an experimental show, so to speak. Marion just decided to say, hey, okay, I'm going to let you go at it. Few of my people here at the radio station, yeah, Freddie need a show. I haven't even touched politics yet. I haven't even touched.
When else are you going to be on the show? What else are you going to be on?
We're thinking about Saturdays, like what we're doing 3 hours on Saturdays, because I'm too busy throughout the week, to do anything else. He has several made acquisitions, I shouldn't be talking, of other stations that I have to work on. So,
yeah, but are you residing in Gary now or just some remote?
Yes, I am. This is live right here downtown Gary, Indiana.
And then you're going to tell the people in Gary that you're not going to lead us to design and manufacture electric cars?
I ain't saying that.
You're going to be the one to stop it?
No, I'm not saying that. But here's the thing. I never thought I would be an engineer at a radio station. As growing up, I used to travel, putting in at Marriott's, stripping them down, putting ceiling fans, making good money. But I was unhappy. I have also worked at General Motors in Kalamazoo, Michigan, on the line, making good money. There was an offer for me to go back down south because they're putting up high power lines for me to be a linesman. But, that goes and go away. So I believe in loyalty. So I'm loyal to those who show loyalty to me. So all money ain't good money. And relationships is what we have to teach our people. Don't go after the money thinking I got all this, because after it's all over and done with, your relationships with human beings is what counts, not the money. It's how you treat people. That makes sense. Okay. I know I might sound like a knucklehead, but, it makes sense to you.
Okay, Mr. Williams would want you to design and manufacture electric cars and have thousands of people with a job.
I'll do it tomorrow.
You promise?
If he found some way and we begin to do experimental research on that, and he wanted to do this, yes, we would play around with it. Matter of fact, he has a car that I want to play with and try to stick an electric motor and some batteries in right now. It's one of those new Volkswagens that they want to pull the engine out and stick a warp 9. If I say warp 9, you know I know what I'm talking about. I want to stick a warp 9 electric engine straight to the transmission. And
are you going to invite everybody in Gary to come and watch?
My hands are
in Crown Point and Maryville. We got 19 towns in Lake County. Can't you invite everybody in Lake County to come and watch?
Yeah, we could, but that would be something I would have to set up with Mr. Williams, because I would be exhausting his resources. You understand? Everything you're talking about sound good, but everything has a price tag and it has resources and guidelines and rules.
Mr. Williams wants listeners. If everybody listens to you talk about the electric car and comes to Gary to watch you do it, you're telling me that's wrong?
No, I'm not saying that's wrong. It's always a plus. But there's a lot of other stuff as a mass we can do as well. Not only, I'm more into aviation than anything else, being honest with you. I want to buy my own Cessna. I was looking at one, $24,000, and I said, I can take the rest of my flight license in that if I owned it. So there's different things that,
Wait, you have the Genesis Center across the street. You put Mr. Williams' car right there, and you demonstrate it in front of anybody that wants to come to the Genesis Center and watch you do it.
Well,
Where can I go right now and watch somebody reinstall an engine that's an electric engine?
Well, it's kind of simple. It's a lot easier than install. I don't even want to go through it. But it's easy. It's simple. If I had the finances, I could do
then
one.
Why don't you do it?
All right, I talk to him. I appreciate your call, but I got to move on. Okay, call back. I appreciate you. 1370. This is Freddie Flo, man. Give me a call. Let's see here. I'm in my last hour. That went quick. Let's see here. Man, we talked about a lot of stuff. Electric cars. What else? Church. Education. Black men and child support. Okay. All right, let's talk about the dirty stuff now. All right, we're going to talk about the Republican Party and Democrats. And keep in mind, this is only my opinion. I'm not claiming to be an expert. All I'm doing, I think I got, like I said, who am I? In school, I was a class clown, special ed. I was autistic. They didn't shoot me with drugs or any shots or any pills I had to take. Not that I know of, because I guess, But I can say this. I understand science, physics, and nature. But they said I was autistic. They said that I had a speech impediment. They said that I was incapable of learning. But I can build a radio station in 72 hours and put up maybe a 150-foot tower in 3 days. So a lot of times when we talk to people, we have to not judge what their education level is. Okay, I thought I had a call. I guess I missed that one. Sometimes people see things in a whole different dimension. I ain't going to say this. This was a young man the other day. Let me take this call. 1370, live on the radio.
Good afternoon again, Freddie.
Hey, Larry.
I've noticed that you talked about battery-operated vehicles. And I know that we've talked about the possibility of what I refer to as built-in obsolescence. Actually, the vehicles that are on the road now are powered by a form of lithium battery. But like we have accused Apple with their cell phones having possibly built-in obsolescence.
Well, stop right there. I told a lot of people that. People just don't pay attention to people that could see things. Every year they come out with a new phone. It's just like Microsoft got investment with the people that fight viruses.
Well,
So
before you get off on that, I just wanted to mention these two things. One is the involvement of the fuel cell and its replacement of the lithium battery. Number two is that we can operate pretty much like United Parcel, FedEx. Any company can manufacture the engine. All we have to do is develop the power source. FedEx, they just buy the truck cabinet and the, I guess, the base, and they sit it on it. So it is possible to get into the manufacturing business if, in fact, we do it on a modular basis, and it can be done pretty much like other people who start out on a very small scale, and then you issue IPOs, initial public offerings for investment people. And this would be how you would launch it. But I don't know how many people are familiar with IPOs and how to participate. But I'll let you talk on that, particularly the fuel cell.
You set me up. All right. With the fuel cell, I don't particularly like the fuel cell because the fuel cell, it actually runs off water, everybody. Yeah, you heard somebody say, oh, they got a car that runs off water. Yes, it does run off water. But it takes just as much energy. How can I explain this? Okay. Remember when they say when you used to charge, when you jumping off a car battery, and they used to say, be careful because the battery could explode. What's happening is called electrolysis. Let me pronounce this right. There's an electrolytic discharge that separates the hydrogen and the oxygen. H2O, H2O is the water, and the H is the hydrogen, and the O is the oxygen, and the O2 is the oxygen. I'm trying to remember my science now. Bear with me. So what happens when you're charging up a battery, the amperage goes into the water, and the electric separates. It's at the right frequency and at the right voltage. It separates the oxygen molecules from the hydrogen molecules, which is very, very explosive. That's why when you hit the car battery and there's just a hint of hydrogen gas, the battery blows up. So that's why I'm against the hydrogen cell. You know, they have hydrogen cells that produce hydrogen on demand, but you have to separate the hydrogen and the oxygen. But when they come back together in the fuel cell, they mix back together in the fuel cell to generate electricity, and the byproduct is water again. Very complicated, would never do it. That's why you don't see it now. That's why you see Ian having the electric car that uses the ion battery. The same batteries that's in your cell phone drives those cars, but that's still dangerous too, because if you overcharge, those batteries would explode. How I know, because I play with remote control airplanes. Anybody that has your children that has remote control toy cars, or better yet, you remember those things they used to have, the hoverboards. Those are ion batteries. They were blowing up if you fell off and the battery got ruptured. So I'm not going to bore everybody with that, but that's part of why I wouldn't deal with the hydrogen, because it's very difficult to do. I would do with the batteries. All right, where were we at? We're going to move on to politics. What do I know about politics? I know if I was a Republican and I helped elect a president and I was claiming to be a Republican and I like their values, Democrats don't. They just, all of it is still parts The right wing, the left wing, they're part of the same dirty, nasty bird. We've been looking at this thing, doing the same thing over and over and expecting a different process. Now, granted, we were able to elect a black president, but I wasn't happy with him because I have issues with this here. I don't know, like I said, I'm strange, y'all. I see things totally different. President Obama was a constitutional lawyer. Let that sink in for a minute. Constitutional lawyer. The first thing that I thought he was going to do is give us our rights. Give us our true citizenship. Now, y'all probably saying, where is this knucklehead going with citizenship? I'm already a citizen in the United States. If you are black in the United States, you are not a citizen. And I'm going to prove it to you. We run around here playing in their politics, mayors, council people that sit on the seat. Let me pose this question to you. When it's time to vote, and every 25 years when a Voters' Right Act, we keep that in mind, it's an act. For us to vote, it has to be voted on by Congress and a bill has to be passed. If they do not vote and pass that bill, our voting rights is null and void. So, how are we real citizens when if a Hispanic person come here and he get a green card, he has a green card for life. There's no bill that has to be passed for him to vote. Or if somebody from Haiti comes over here, I don't want to pick on my Mexican brothers because, hey, they humans just like everybody else. I'm going to try to do better for my family too. But Haitians, any other immigrant that comes to this country and get a green card, they don't have to worry about a Voters' Right Act to be passed by Congress. Here we are thinking that we're true citizens in this country, and I think it's 12 or 25 years they got to vote on our Voters' Right Act. And voting was so important for us that we fought Martin Luther King, all these great people, and they passed an act. I get angry every time I talk about this because we act like we have rights and we don't. Am I crazy? Am I the only one that sees this? Check it out. I had to go look at it and make sure this was factual. That if they don't pass that Voters' Right Act amendment every so many years, if they decide not, you know who would just do something stupid like that? If it came up right now, do you think the Republican Party would actually, or they would find some excuse or forget or not even put it up if it's due to expire because it has an expiration date? Do you think they would bring it up to Congress and vote on it? Really? Do you really think? Or do you think, oh, we got to make sure black folks have their right to vote. We're going to get out there and we're going to make sure that bill pass. Or not the bill. We make sure we'll continue. And these are the people, every opportunity that they had, they diluted the Voters' Right Act. Soon as President, what's his name? Trump got in and pulled back some of those restrictions, those states changed voter ID laws overnight. And those voter ID laws were specifically targeted at us. So why do we run around thinking that these people have our best interests at heart and we're fighting and protesting the wrong thing? We need to protest and fight for our citizenship. We need to get that abolished and make us a neutral, natural citizen just like Indians and everybody else to be able to vote. Don't you see what's going on? Am I the only one that got eyes to see this? We have lawyers that come in here and nobody addresses that issue. Nobody talks about it. I don't want to get shot through here because I'm talking about something that is supposed to be because the gatekeepers ain't telling you about that. The gatekeepers are saying, well, we're black folks, but we got the right to vote, but if they don't vote on it every 12 years, then it goes away, or every 25 years, then it goes away. Why are we not equal in voting like everybody else? President Obama was a constitutional lawyer. But if he would have did that, they would have assassinated him. Bet you. So guess what we get? All the Civil Rights Acts, everything they did, they watered it down to include everybody else except what it was meant for. The uplifting of black folks from the condition and the suffering which we and our forefathers endured. But it was watered down to include white women, Hispanics, and now the new fight of the party of civil rights is the Rainbow Coalition. Like racism don't exist, blackballing, railroading. Look at our president. Him and his dad was they played no contest and paid the fine for housing discrimination in the 70s. Think about this. Housing discrimination in the 70s. He grew up as a racist. Now, he grew up as a racist, which ain't bad because he loves his race and he take care of his people before. But when you add racism, he used his political power to deny another group of people based on race or the color of your skin. Or the proper word would be prejudice. I know I ain't crazy. I'm the only one that looks at that or cares about that. You don't see how everything is changing politically? If President Obama did 1/5 of 1% of anything that this president has done, wow. He'll be gone. But we have to understand that the Constitution of America was not designed for people of color. The 13th Amendment was added as a playground. Slavery was not abolished. Why you think we make up only 13% of the population, but over 70% of the prison population is people of color? And the FBI and all the statistics and all the reports says black folks commit crimes on the same level as white folks. Black on black crime. If there's black on black crime, there has to be white on white crime. Because crime with the FBI statistics says 97, I think, you can't quote me, I know it's in the 90s, 90% of black folks or black people or African Americans commit crimes on black folks, 90%. But wow, 84% of white folks commit crimes on white folks. So why is there this false narrative, black on black crime? And then over here, you got 84%. You see how we're stereotyped and put into this, like, I don't understand how people don't see that. There you go. I just showed you the Voters' Right Act. And I just showed you the disparity between prisons. And I haven't told you about the clause of slavery being abolished except for being convicted of a crime. There's no forgiveness of a crime, really, because it follows you. If you get a felony at 18 years old, say you stole a mini bike or a bike, these so-called Christian nation will hold that against you till you go in the grave. Like you the worst person that ever lived. The same Republican Party that says they don't believe in abortion believes in capital punishment. Oh no, we can't kill a life. Killing a life that hasn't been born inside the mama's stomach, we're going to control that and say we're going to try to make that. I'm not agreeing with abortion. But you can't have two sides. You can't say I agree with abortion and say I don't agree with abortion, but say we can kill people and we can execute people over here. That later, so many that been exonerated with DNA evidence. See what I'm getting at? It is so much hypocrisy. Here's another one. In the great old state of Indiana. And if there's some white folks out there, I'm being comedic with this right here. I'm being real funny about this because white folks control all the state legislature and all the rules and regulations and everything in Indiana. Black folks, you don't act like, because you got mayors and all this down here. It's all controlled down south at the Capitol. How do you make a law? These are educated people now. But who am I? I don't supposed to know this. I'm supposed to be this artistic guy that was in special ed, and some people said was retarded and he can't learn anything. But I know the difference between sending a sexual picture to a 16-year-old, you would go to prison. But you can have sex with a 16-year-old and nobody has nothing to say about it. How do laws exist like that? I'll wait. Somebody got to explain that one to me. 1370, Freddie Flo Ratton.
On the issue of voting, how does the amendment...
get your phone straight for me because you kind of messing up a little bit. Still there? I'll give him a second here. You know, I need some Jeopardy music in these moments of, yeah. Do. I'm going to get that, though. I'm going to get me some Jeopardy music in situations like that as I have to wait. All right. I'll wait for him to call back. But in my rant, I was just, you know, that was one that just blew me away. You know, it just blew my mind. How contradictory. And these are the people we look at to make laws to be just for us. These are the people that sets up the state school curriculum for the state guideline. And they got a law like that they won't even deal with. It's all right for a grown man to have sexual relationships with a 16-year-old, but you can't send a picture. Who do that law benefit? Why not just abolish all of it and say, hey, you pedophile all the way down the line, you're going to prison? Grown man mess with a 16. It ought to be 17 as far as I'm concerned. 18. But that's just my opinion. I just don't see a grown man going down messing with a... Oh, boy. Here we go. 1370 on the radio.
Okay. I'm on the landline now.
Sounds great.
All right. Well, doesn't the Equal Rights Amendment replace the need for a Voters' Right Act?
No. No, it doesn't.
Then what you would suggest that in the past election, since in fact the Voting Rights Act was not renewed...
It was renewed. It was renewed.
It was renewed?
It was renewed.
Okay.
or they would have legally been able to throw every black person vote out. It was one of those quiet things that you don't hear about during the day. If you ever watch C-SPAN, I watched it. I watched them vote on it.
Well, that still raises the question of why wouldn't it be considered as part of the Equal Rights Amendment?
Because they have to have loopholes to do what they need to do for us. If you made us natural citizens, then you have to deal with the most important thing you would have to deal with is what? Reparations. Because you're saying you did something wrong. And you had to change the Constitution and rewrite it to make a right would make saying, yeah, we had slavery and it was wrong and now we have to make these people whole. There's no accountability for what they have done to us. And I don't want no black person calling this radio station, because I'm going to let you have it, telling me I need to forget and move on. I just want to make that, because I dare you to tell that to somebody Jewish and say, forget about the Holocaust. It didn't mean nothing, and you just should forget about it. Those people have got, Germany has paid restitution to the families. So before you even say that to me, go do some research and look up what happened to other people. Look up what happened to the Japanese, and was that World War II, when they rounded them all up, dropped a bomb on Nagasaki and Hiroshima, and see how those people got compensated from the United States of America. We are the only people that haven't got compensated. Now, compensating us would be a very difficult thing. Because I would say, no taxes and free school. You see what I'm saying? Because you can't just, I would be totally against giving people that just got their voting rights and just begin to go to college and get so-called real education in the last 50 years and then give them a bunch of money. It's just going to end right back up in the people's hand that gave it to us. But when you say, fund all our HBCs for life, and everybody get to go to HBC for free, and we don't have to pay taxes for so many years, like 75, 800 years. That would be good reparations for starters, because we can't mess that up. Not that we would, but we have people and gatekeepers that they can manipulate. When I say the gatekeepers, they can manipulate. Oh, we could start a charter school. You see what I'm saying? And you get some gatekeepers. Yeah, let's start a charter school to take from programs that was beneficial for our community. I like to say this, and this is one of my rants. I think all the school systems, yes, sure, there's money mismanagement. I guarantee you go to these white schools, I should say, public schools that's predominantly all Caucasian. I guarantee you there's money mismanagement in that. This is extraordinary. This is extraordinary to me. The people that created the situation for us is beyond corruption in their school system. The people that created the educational system for us, that setting it up to fail, we look at them like they're pure and natural, and they're beyond stealing money and doing these things. See what I'm saying? But we look at our schools and they're mismanaging money and they doing this and they doing that. And I guarantee you, if you went into some of these schools in other communities, because they have abundance of money, you will find misappropriation of funds there too.
Oh, I agree. I don't think that anybody can get away with.
So yeah, that's one of the first things. I don't want to hear that. It doesn't. It doesn't sit. If anything I have said today, as far as voting rights and all the stuff on the upper level, we expecting that to trickle down to us. It's not.
No, well, there's a term in law referred to as clean hands. So what you're saying is valid, and the powers that be, the gatekeepers, as you call them, certainly do not have clean hands.
Well, they always do that. Okay, I got to be blunt, too. So some people understand you know, because I talk to a lot of young folks, and a lot of young folks might not understand the lingo or care about the lingo because, like I was telling Mary, sometimes if you're just coming out with that automated college or educated point of view, it doesn't work. If you get raw with it, they love to be raw and uncut with the truth. If you say the Uncle Toms that control the money, that continue to make bad decisions, continue to get rewarded to make bad decisions. But guess what? It ain't happening with our schools. You remember when the mortgage crisis happened? These guys that caused the mortgage crisis, those were gatekeepers too. They were white folks. And these CEOs got bonuses. But these people was held accountable by their own people, but a lot of them got away. You know, I remember, you see, everybody forgot about Enron and all that kind of stuff. But those were gay houses to a certain degree there, too. But that guy went to prison. You see what I'm saying? So we do not hold the gatekeepers accountable. They figure out how to throw a little cash in our little programs, giving you just enough to keep your hand hanging out, and you allow them to devastate your community and your education system. See, it ain't politics. It's just dog eat dog. You know what I'm saying?
Well, I don't disagree. And, in fact, we have a dual situation even with Bill Cosby. So the same thing that he's being indicted for, we're allowing people to sit in the White House who's guilty of something comparable.
Come on, man. So what do we do as a people? Because somebody said, you know, man, I listen to you. So what do? You keep taking the blue pill or take the red pill and wake up and come out your coma? And then figure out how to find the solution for the problem. First thing about it is to talk about it. 12-step program. What was that? I've never been in one, but I kind of understand what it works, how it works. You know, you got to see that you have a problem. You got to admit to the problem, and you got to see what the problem is. And then you could kind of fix it.
Well, I'm going to hang up. You pretty much answered my questions.
All right. Appreciate your call, man. 1370 live on the radio.
Hi. You mentioned that you can send pictures to 16-year-olds, but you don't have any repercussions between having sex with a 16-year-old.
That is the Indiana.
Right.
Yep, but in Indiana, that is the state law. Look that law up. It's consent. You there?
Yeah, huh?
Look the law up. It's consent. That's your state legislator at work. If you can send a picture of your private parts to a 16-year-old, anybody under 16 years old, and go to prison. But you can have a relationship with a 16-year-old. That's the cutoff age is 16 now. You can't go under 15. Nothing to happen.
That's statutory rape, either way you look at it.
It's supposed to be, but our legislators say it isn't.
When did they say that?
What have you been? Do you know the law with that? What happened? That was a young.
Yeah, and I know a dude that had sex with a 16-year-old, and he's doing buku time now.
I don't know how he must have been railroad, because if you look at the law in Indiana, consensual at age 16. Google it. What is the consensual age for sex in the state of Indiana? But you can't send. And give me a call back.
I will definitely do that.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
All right.
Bye.
Oh, but I didn't mean to cut it off that quick. 1370, I'm almost at the end of this long journey with you. My first show. Probably some of y'all say I better not come back on the radio no more. That's cool too, though. But here we go. You know, I got some rants that I can go in on and talk about. You know, I listen to Rush Limbaugh, believe it or not. I listen to most of the conservative radio people, because I already know where the liberal point of view at. But I like listening to Fox. I really, and these people are so believable. I like listening to Breitbart because you got to understand how the other side thinks. You just can't say I'm not listening to him. I'm cutting off the radio. It's amazing to me that sometimes you have to listen to your enemy to see what point of view he has about you and how they feel about you. Now, I'm going to say this. I certainly believe half of the voting population, even more, that didn't come out to vote, don't believe in the hypocritical racism of Donald Trump and his administration. I agree with that. I agree that most of Americans, don't agree to that extreme. But in me closing, there are some things that I can call into question. Donald Trump do amazing things when his backup is against the wall to take the focus out of this disaster that's coming down the stream to him. What would motivate a president change the capital and move it to Jerusalem? Why would he do that? This happened out the blue. A lot of it is trying to get the focus off the Russia investigation. I really believe in my heart that this man is going to secretly drop a mini nuke on Korea. We're going to wake up one morning and this guy has sent a few mini nukes. And when I say mini nukes, I'm talking about nuclear weapons that destroy 2-mile areas. They have mini nukes that doesn't destroy a lot of area, but still it's a nuclear bomb that would take out most of his stuff. And he will accept casualties. He has no problem, in my mind, that he would accept a nuclear strike on Japan or the other part of Korea. He would seem that would be acceptable, that we take that threat out of there. But I think he would do that just because of the person he is. Because everybody knows he has something to do with the Russia thing. I'm using, I like to say thing, because there's so much. You got hotels, you got money. Nobody else in America would lend that man money. Nobody. That's why he was hiding his taxes so much. And they got that. So the only thing short of getting him impeached or going to prison or getting his son Jared locked up, son-in-law, is creating a national catastrophe. And I don't think that's outside his, I really don't think that's outside of his thinking. Really don't. Everything. Just think about everything from on the bus, grab him by this, do this, do this. Every disgusting thing that this man, he's still here. Now he got people lobbying for him in the Republican Party. Now, I ain't a super voting fan, but this midterm, we need to do just like those women did in Alabama. And that's a story for next week, why black women came out to vote in the numbers that they did. As I study, I have the information about that and the rationale and the reasoning behind that, but I'm going to wait till next week to make sure I'm thorough in that investigation and getting and disseminating and talking to people about that before I bring that up. So, till next week, this your boy Freddie Flo. I'm going to try to, I hope y'all enjoyed it. I hope I was at least entertaining to you. One more time, for those who don't understand that this has nothing to do with the radio station, the views expressed by the host and callers of this show are not necessarily the views of WLTH Radio, management, or its sponsors. And also, a reminder to you out there, we have a winter storm warning in effect tomorrow. Let me pull it up, see, because they like to change this all the time. One day, yeah, they like to change it all the time. Okay, it hasn't changed. It says posted 3 hours ago, a winter weather warning in effect from 6 a.m. until 6 p.m. Central Standard Time Sunday. Storm warning is for Lake County, Indiana. We are expecting between 4 and 8 inches of snow. It went from 4 to 8 inches of snow. Totals over. See, this is what's crazy. I'm reading it just like. Sometimes you have to really stop before you just read something. It says, plain and difficult travel conditions. Let me read it like it's supposed to be. Heavy snow expected. Plain and difficult travel conditions. Total snow accumulation 4 to 8 inches are expected. Totals over 6 inches may be in isolated areas closer to the lake. That right there, over 6 inches, and then right here they say 8 inches. Totals 8 inches. Why didn't put just 4 to 6 with total inches over 8? But anyway, I'm crazy. I told you, I'm dyslexic. I see stuff like that, and it, you know, you might say, what does that mean? Because it's written that way. That's just how my mind works, y'all. So you got to get used to that if you listen to this show. I see the minor, insignificant details. All right, till next time, y'all have a great, have a wonderful holiday. Okay? I'll talk to you next time. This your boy Freddie Flo. I'm out of here. Bring the pain, Method Man. Here we go.
Go inside my astral plane, find out my mental, based on instrumental records. Hey, so I can write monumental methods. I'm not the king, but this is decaf. I stick 'em for the cream. Check it, just how deep can get. Deep as the abyss, and brothers is mad fish accepted. In your cross color, codes you crossed over. Think I totally crossed out and crisscrossed. Who the boss? You tossed to the side, and on the dark side of the force. Of course, it's the method. Man from the Wu-Tang clan, I be hectic and coming for the headpiece, protect it. 2 tears in a bucket. You want the ruckus? Bustin' at me, bro. Now bust it. Styles like it's buck wild. Method man on pulling fouls. I'm sick, insane, crazy. Driving Miss Daisy out of fucking mind. Now I got mine, I'm swayed. Is it real, son? Is it really real, son? Let me know it's real, son. If it's really